Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching and with Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channels. Welcome to those of you who are new around here. This is Pro Wrestling Logic. This is the March 9th, 1991 edition of the WCW Saturday night program. Paulie Dangerously and Jim Ross and Missy Hyatt on the call for the day. Interesting time, of course. This is the very end, towards the end of the um, Ric Flair run here. He's leaving in the month of July, obviously. So then we see an opening segment with Jim Ross, Paulie Dangerously, Missy Hyatt, which Hyatt and Dangerously argued over who was supposed to interview Teddy Long later in the show, including Ross and Dangerously on commentary for the majority of the show. Wrestling wrap-up hosted by Gordon Solie, in which he announces the U.S. Tag Team Champion Rick and Scott Steiner had defeated WCW Tag Team Champions Michael Hayes and Jimmy Garvin and now hold both championship belts with footage uh, of that airing. Solie then said a potential tournament might need to be held to determine the new U.S. Tag Team Champions. The Steiners couldn't hold both championships at the same time, featuring Ross conducting ringside interview with Buddy Landel regarding his association with the York Foundation, which with Landel saying he would not hold a or would hold a press conference and officially sign with them. Landel then thanked Missy Hyatt and Jason Hart before buying him lunch in Los Angeles the other day. After Landell left, Missy tells Ross the director said she could be part of the Danger Zone later in the show, with Dangerously threatening to slap her if she showed up, including Long as a guest on the Danger Zone, where Missy interjecting to ask what Long's plans were for Simmons. Long replied by saying that Simmons cost him a lot of money, and Dangerously then showed Long footage of Missy's interview with Simmons. The previous week, as Long began to insult Missy for her comments, Simmons then walked out on Long. Long runs backstage. Also includes Nikki Nikoloff in training for his return to the ring against WCW US Champion Lex Luger. Big Josh pinning Jim Voss with a running axe handle and a sit-out splash 439 prior to the match. Josh and Tommy Rich cut an insert promo regarding Josh's match with Dan Spivey at the Omni the next night. Also notes that this is the first 3,000 kids in the door at the Omni would receive a WCW mug, so they are really trying to get kids in the door. Should kind of do some merchandising here. It doesn't exactly go very well, but anyway, we kind of see, like as mentioned, the nature of none other than, uh, Big Josh kind of trying to do something a little, get some momentum going, for lack of a better term. It doesn't necessarily go well, but it is what it is. And again, we kind of get the nature of things here. Um, we kind of go around a little bit, and ultimately, uh, there's some struggles, so to speak. But anyway, um, it's there, and it's just I wouldn't say a completely long match, but it is a match that probably goes longer than it needs to. We go to Big Josh hitting a couple clotheslines, the log roll, and um, the slam, as it were, and ultimately, then there you go. Next, we go on to an enhancement match. Enhancement match continuing with, you know, and I mean, that's what WCW is at the time, is a bunch of enhancement matches for sure. Not necessarily the best in situations. Larry Zbyszko, Tim Parker up next. Zbyszko, living legend, robe, looking pretty dapper, as it were. Zbyszko also, honestly, coming off the AWA run, the thought at the time was he was going to bring the AWA belt with him. They never did much with that. Of course, the AWA ending in 1990. I think they had one or two more shows in 91 early. The first couple of months, but never really went anywhere with it. Larry Zbyszko manages to take uh, Parker into the corner. Zbyszko still trying to manage to be pretty aggressive, gets his man upside down in a Tree of Woe style maneuvers. Zbyszko still managing to do a bunch of punch kick stalling, hits a pile driver, and getting a victory here. Then we move to another in the series of enhancement matches. The Wild Eyed Southern Boys are cutting an inset promo, and during their enhancement match here, Wild Eyed Southern Boys, of course, Tracy Smothers and um, um, Steve Armstrong defeating Lou Frivourino and Dave Johnson. 6:45. Smothers pins Johnson, following a flying back elbow off the top rope. Armstrong holds Johnson in the air during the bout. Smothers and Armstrong can be cut an insert promo on the Omni match the next night. The Omni, of course, being their big thing. And, for a enhancement match, this isn't bad. Lots of go rounds, lots of technical wrestling for the baby faces. Although, what does it say when you have an enhancement match with two no-name talents that take, almost 7 minutes to get through? Lots of punches, super kicks, and the such by Tracy Smothers. Smothers is a house of fire, certainly a guy who easily could have done more going forward, and Smothers and Armstrong do manage to do some double team maneuvers too. Still good baby faces at the time, not exactly getting where they want to be. The double team maneuver leading them to victory. Then we go to, after that back elbow and other such, Junkyard Dog getting interviewed. Junkyard Dog basically saying he's going to take care of Mr. Hughes, among other people, and Junkyard Dog is also there. They are plugging the WCW hotline at the time, which is I wouldn't say waste of time, but it's here. Buddy Landell and the Z-Man Tom Zink in a 10-minute, 11-second match. Zink has Landell backing up quite a bit during the early stages of this one. And as mentioned, pretty direct there. Landell does a lot of walk and talk stalling on the outside. The York Foundation, Alexander York, and Terry Taylor and Mr. Hughes out there supporting Landell. Landell, I guess, was going to be a major force in the York Foundation, but it doesn't really happen. Bobby Eaton kind of comes in to help the Z-Man after cheating from the York Foundation, leads them in a direction that isn't exactly the best. Highlights, as mentioned earlier, from the Steiners winning the World Tag Team Champions, so now they're double champions. Talk of the need for a tournament for the U.S. Tag Team Championships, since the Steiners are deemed as not being able to hold both championships at the same time. Then we move to Barry Windham facing Pablo Crenshaw with a Superplex 416. Windham at the time coming out of still doing the Horseman thing here in 1991, looking for ways to bolster his value here in 1991 as well. And Windham, arm drags and the like. Crenshaw gives him a little bit, or he's given a little bit, but obviously the lariat and a superplex from the second rope on the inside is a reason for victory here. We then go to another in the nature of things, Richard Morton by this point, I believe, although maybe the heel turn hasn't happened quite yet with Morton. Morton, of course, joining the York Foundation in the weeks and months to come here. Six-man tag team champions Ricky Morton pinning Joey Maggs 10-21 after flying Hazardous and Cradle during the bout. It's noted that Morton would face Stan Hansen the following night at the Omni. How they get a 10-minute match out of Ricky Morton and Joey Maggs. Maggs not a bad talent by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly most known as an enhancement talent at the time. 10 minutes with Ricky Morton, though, speaks to how good Morton is. Lots of ride time, lots of grappling for submission style maneuvers and ultimately getting things going in a positive direction there. Ricky Morton, of course, trying to get kind of back into the swing of things. Deep arm drag by Morton. Morton kind of having a little bit of, wouldn't say full on struggle, but some challenges there, as it were. And ultimately, Joey Maggs trying to keep things going in a positive direction for himself. Chin locks and reverses. Actually, amazing to me that I would still put Maggs and Morton up against most of the matches that are put out there today in terms of psychology, in that they kind of continue to go back and forth. It's treated like a contest that actually matters, and then we see El Gigante in a squash match, as he should be want to do, since there is very little else he should be doing at this point as far as match, I guess you could say, quality is concerned. 2-on-1. Pat Rose and Nasty Ned Bradley are his opponents, and he immediately takes over on them, including a claw hold and getting a quick victory. Ron Simmons highlights of his interview where he talks about Teddy Long not being respectful of him and using him to his advantage. U.S. champion Lex Luger out next. The total package, still a babyface among babyfaces here at this time, and a enhancement match for Luger. Luger, your U.S. champion, probably doesn't need to go as long as he does in this particular contest. I believe it's Joe Kazana. Let me just double check there. Um, Luger defeating Joe Cruz, not Kazana. Torture rack, 1 minute 48 seconds. Talking about Luger cuts an insert promo responding to the challenge of Nikita Koloff. Koloff had laid him out at the, I believe, Wrestle War 90, something like that. But laid him out with during a previous deal here. Obviously, the torture rack, the main hold for Luger, getting him back in control of things there. Sid Vicious defeating Tommy Angel with a powerbomb, 3 minutes 5 seconds. Written about Brian Pillman cuts an insert promo in which he said he would be after Vicious anywhere, anytime, finishing saying he's coming for Vicious tail, and that gets bleeped out. And then Angel is put on a stretcher by the EMTs. Vicious knocks him off the stretcher, throws the stretcher onto Angel, and Vicious looks pretty aggressive there. Again, the Sid punch kick and the power bomb. The power bomb, a big move at the time in 1991 for Sid Vicious, making him something a bit different. Ranger Ross then pins Rip Rogers with the combat kick, 6:28. After the bout, Jim Ross conducts a ringside interview with Ross until World Champion Ric Flair, wearing a suit, attacks Ross from behind and then hits him into the ring. Flair yells at Ross not to talk to the trash and said no one would humiliate him, not get 25 stitches, followed by War Games, and he would beat Sting in the cage match at the Omni the next night. And there we go. Ultimately, Ranger Ross, a guy that they were doing a lot with, trying to do kind of a military-style gimmick, doesn't necessarily go well for him. But, I think he got into legal trouble with improprieties and violence and all sorts of things years later. But that's what we got in this particular edition. We'll be back with more right after this.